By now I'm sure you've heard of the Squid Game. Or at least you've seen images like this one. Or this one. Or this other one. But what is this Squid Game thing? The Squid Game is a Korean TV series that has undoubtedly marked recent times, not only for its rawness, but also for the lessons about money that it teaches us. For example, the main thing we can learn is that debts are very negative. In that sense, although your children may not be able to watch the series, you can teach them to manage their money from an early age, so that they do not have bad financial times when they are adults, just as the players of the game have. Seen from a philosophical point of view, what this series presents us is a micro-dystopia, in which a large number of failed people, with no future, with irresponsible debts, and whose common denominator is that they cannot take care of themselves. Which is why a secret society organizes a sort of show for their delight, in which these people agree to play games for children but with fatal consequences, in exchange for winning a millionaire sum. In the series it amounts to 45.6 billion yuan, or a little more than 38 million US dollars. The slogan seems to be simple. Everyone is obliged to play. If one does not want to play, he or she will be eliminated. And if the majority of players decide to do so, the games are stopped. That is, all participants are returned to their unpromising life, and are not given a penny. Now the dilemma is, who really wants this? The series exemplifies this well for us as a certain moment when the players, frightened by the death of their fellow players, decide to vote to withdraw. With the consequence that upon returning to the real world, they soon discover that their daily lives are nothing but slow agony, which may turn out to be even worse than those games that they decided to quit. So the vast majority of them decide to return. Well, this is as far as I'm going to put a damper on it because I don't want to do any more spoilers. And actually you're only going to see this in the first few chapters, which I think is the best part of the series. Now, we'll continue by looking at the issue of money. Money is a dangerous target. In the Squid Game, money is the main protagonist. It is what the players lack and what the organizers have too much of. Pay close attention because it is important to understand this money issue. Money symbolizes the ability to live in happiness and also to have power. Money in general terms is what we all want at some point in our lives, or always. But in reality it is not money. It is that which produces what we desire, with fervor. The protagonists of the games are immersed in debts, needs and calamities. Money is scarce for them, and so it happens because of their personal characteristics. Each one needs money to survive. On the other hand, those who have money to spare use it for fun. What a disturbing fact. That is profoundly important, as it represents a truth of our lives. The more money you need, the less you have, unfortunately. Whereas the more you love what you do, the more possibility of money you have. Money is the value we place on it. Interestingly, every dead person had a value in the series, the Squid Game, and that is also a palpable reality. We all have a value and discovering it is crucial. I'm not talking in this case about money, but about an intrinsic personal value, a value of knowing how much you are worth. Now, if you want to get your act together, I share with you the 7 lessons about money from the Squid Game. 1. Don't spend on unnecessary things. It is common for us to spend on things we don't need, such as fast food orders or the famous ant expenses, such as cigarettes, soft drinks, or services that are not necessary and are rarely used. In these cases, it is important that you analyze its importance. That is to say, if it is indispensable, or if doing it could affect you in covering some other basic needs. Starting to be more selective with your expenses will help you to have a better control of your finances. 2. Organize your finances. It seems obvious, but the reality is that many people don't manage their finances. You can use several financial models that will allow you to get organized, such as the 50-30-20 rule, which consists of allocating 20% as a priority to investments or savings, 50% to the basic needs that you have to consider every month, and 30% to treat yourself. I already created a video explaining the formula more in detail. I will leave the link in the description. 3. Learn the habit of prevention. One of the most important things we can see in the Squid Game is the importance of having an emergency fund, because as it happens with several characters in the series, when faced with illnesses or special cases, they cannot finance a service, which can lead us to face a situation of desperation that can even affect our health. In order to achieve this, the habit of prevention and saving is fundamental. 4. Eliminate your debts. Several of the characters of the game receive constant calls to pay off their debts. If yours have already begun to accumulate interest, this is not something you can solve overnight. However, with planning, discipline, and order, you can begin to regain your peace of mind. To do so, you can take into account the following recommendations. 5. Analyze how much you have to pay. The main character in the series takes out loans and loans, without measuring the consequences, and without first analyzing if he will be able to pay them back, since he likes betting and gambling. In this regard, it is recommended to define how much real money you have to pay off your debts, because many times interest-free months can be misleading, and the first thing you need to do is to calculate how much you can comfortably pay per month, without affecting your basic needs. 6. Look for extra income. As we saw during the 9 chapters of the series, running away is not the solution. Spend your time on a side job or a small business that generates income to advance your loans. In that sense, try to earn a little extra money to alleviate your expenses. 7. Work on your financial and emotional well-being. An essential part is to keep a cool head and a focused emotional state in order to be able to identify what your overall goals are, and establish a plan to achieve them. It is also very important not to get into debt to pay off other debts. That is the worst you can do. Consider that the solution is not to pay off your debts through lenders or lines of credit that sooner or later you will have to pay. Or even worse, as seen in the series, looking for a lucky break by playing the lottery. Anyway, the series has several interesting readings and points to discuss. The first is perhaps the most superficial and the easiest to see. That is, to see the story as a social criticism, as a metaphor where the poor or helpless people live for the delight of an elite that manages and dominates them through money. If you notice, all those are people who are not able to live in a liberalist state, as they live marginalized and don't know how to take care of themselves, or want to break the laws of the free market. The protagonist, Gi-hun, is a guy who doesn't work, and who is waiting for a lucky break to change his life, either by betting on horses or through a prize machine. Their antagonist Cho Sang-woo, who is a subject of business background, evades taxes, and is involved in various financial crimes. Meanwhile, Kang Sae-byeok's female character is a North Korean deserter. And this is among many others, which include gangsters, sick people, illegal immigrants, etc. In other words, none of the characters involved in these games are part of the economically active population. But quite the contrary, they have a very great need for their own purposes. So it turns out that before them appears a system that promises them equality. In fact, those who control the games always talk about the same thing. Everyone has to have equal conditions. Everyone has to dress the same. Everyone eats the same, everyone has the same bed, and so on. And when faced with the challenges of the game, it doesn't matter whether you are an old man, or an old woman, or have a physical deficiency. You always have to meet the objective, because if you don't meet the rules, then you will be eliminated. And in this case we have that the participants usually always choose the opportunity instead of a slow agony. But on the other hand, by choosing this opportunity, they are dehumanizing themselves for the benefit of the organizers, who are called the VIPs, who are nothing more than a metaphor for the upper echelons of the dominant party. They are tempered by their lives of luxury, excess, and capitalism. How the population of a certain country kills each other for food or for some money, or simply to survive. I allow myself to formulate this hypothesis taking into account the constant friction between the two Koreas. This series being logically developed by the South Korea. And what do you guys think that could be done with such marginated people? Here, logically, I am not talking about the series, but about real life. For me, the ideal would be that we find a way to include them and give them the necessary opportunities so that we can all play with the same rules of the game. I think that should be the role of every state. Other alternatives from different points of view could also contemplate, for example, subsidizing these people so that they can stay in peace, so that they don't go hungry or suffer misery. In other words, to implement the welfare state model. And another alternative could be perhaps to leave these people to their fate and cross our fingers that they don't end up becoming criminals or die without making much noise. Which of the three alternatives represents you the most? I leave the question in the air while I invite you to share your opinion in the comments. Please subscribe to this channel if you like this video. That would help me a lot to keep producing content like this. And click the little bell to receive all notifications. See you next week. And remember, smart work is the key to success.